Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Wonder Man Season 1, Episode 2, Self-Tape. The episode is rated TV-14, so with this video there will be spoilers for the MCU leading up to and including this episode. And yeah, another episode I absolutely loved. I can't believe I completely forgot to mention in my video on the first episode, really loved the needle drops, and yeah, that continues to be the case. I'm going to try not to just restate, like, basically everything I loved about the season opener is also true of this one. This continues to be one of the shows, like, it's been a while since I laughed this hard at an MCU thing, and yeah. Right, and I am not spoiling any episode that came out after this one. Yes, I am aware all of them have aired. I haven't watched past this one yet. But the, let's see, what was the other thing? Yeah, I guess that covers. Right, I'm starting to wonder if they're gonna have every episode open with a flashback. I mean, Shang-Chi did open with a scene, yeah, a flashback. So maybe that's just something Destin Daniel Cretton is really interested in. Is that why he ended up not doing Avengers? Because he really wanted a flashback and they wouldn't let him or something? I really do hope they give him, like, I'm loving this, but I hope they give him something as amazing as Shang-Chi at some point in the future, because I really do think that was one of the most well-directed of, the MCU. Anyway, yeah, I thought it worked really well, the flashback, and this thing of, like, yeah, he actually thought he just flew back into America because he thought, like, well, what? I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not my fault that I didn't finish my sentence. Trevor, that's not how that works. Wow, like, we already knew he was really naive, but this is a new level. I had no idea that he just went back as if nothing. I don't know. I guess I thought that they contacted him. I wasn't thinking that he reached out to them first, but I thought they contacted him wherever it was he was, and that. But it is also very clever because, yeah, he wasn't in America in Shang-Chi, so yeah, and yeah, this whole thing of, he's given his entire backstory to this woman on the plane, and again we have this really great, like, Destin just has such. Is that too familiar? Mr. Daniel Cretton has such a sense of setting a scene and really just putting us there. Like, if you haven't watched in a while, go back and rewatch Shang-Chi. Like, I'll be rewatching it a couple of days from now. So that it's fresh in my mind before I do the spoiler-free review of this show. But, like, he really. I'm not saying the movie's perfect. I definitely have. I think I said everything that I took issue with in my video on it. But I mean, perhaps the biggest is that, the very ending. Like, I'm sorry, but as soon as the father character dies, it's like, I'm sorry, why is the climax still going? Like, it's cool. It's objectively, like, there's a freaking dragon there, but I'm just not emotionally invested anymore, and that is, it's really too bad. Like, seeing the, what was it, Tao Lo, I think it was called, um, with all these creatures and the family drama, fantastic. Yeah, moving on. But yeah, as they're walking through the airport, also some in the plane, but as they're walking through the airport, and you have all these extras going around, and then suddenly he's arrested. Like, it feels real, and it's the kind of thing, like, a lot of studios these days are like, do we have to? Because that's a lot of hassle to, if you go back and watch earlier movies, and I'm not one of those people who say that, oh, older stuff is automatically better, or newer stuff is automatically better. There's good stuff from various ages. But I really do appreciate when someone these days actually says, no, let's actually, because it feels so much more real. All these people who just got off a plane and are just trying to go about their day, and then suddenly the FBI show up, just, yeah. And he's sure to say, I'm not resisting, which, like, they did film this before the worst of ice, didn't they? Because these days, that's not really a requirement to be killed by law enforcement. I mean, it never was, but there's a lot of people who are realizing on account of ICE that, oh wow, that's just, yeah, you're not really safe. I saw someone point out, let's see, I if I had to guess, a woman posted on social media somewhere that she would feel safer surrounded by illegal immigrants in a room than if there was just one ICE agent. And then she finished off with, and I still choose the bear, which, I mean, I feel, yeah, the misogynistic men are really not making a strong case for trusting ICE right now, and I'm not saying every single misogynistic man supports ICE, but you do see a certain percentage of them which is genuinely like, I don't know, I guess for some of them, as long as at least some of the people being killed are women, they're okay with it. Like, I genuinely, based on, the video we've seen, I can't even imagine, like, seeing Renee Good and being like, actually like hating her, thinking she deserved to die. Like, that takes serious issues. And perhaps it's not about women. It might be about something else. But like, I'm not even kidding. Please seek help. If you watch those videos, like they acted like, oh, the one that the I'm torn on whether or not I should say his name, because it does appear we know it by now, but the guy who fired the gun, they were acting like the video he shot exonerated him when it's like kind of the opposite. But just like, I'm sorry, she comes across as just like your neighbor, just like someone just, yeah, I don't want to be alone around someone who thinks that shooting her was justified based on the videos we've seen and the information that has come out in general. Moving on. Yeah, it was very cool seeing, I did just rewatch Iron Man 3, so it was fresh in my mind already, but seeing the couple of clips of Travis Slattery as the Mandarin, and the thing about no, they were just squibs. You sure about that? Which I do appreciate, because it is like, you watch that movie and it is like, really? Because he said in that movie, Trevor says, those wankers won't let me have real guns. And, oh, it's just special effects. Like, I mean, I appreciate we don't see it on screen, but like, could they really fake something? I don't know. That felt like, maybe two parts of the script were written at different times, maybe by different people, and they didn't double check to make sure there wasn't something like that. Because it's powerful seeing him shoot that guy, but they also needed Trevor to be completely non-threatening for it to work. So, but yeah, and I continue to really like Cleary. He's somewhat more comedic here than Ms. Marvel, but I don't know. Yeah, because I mean, there was comedy on that show as well, but then on there was this edge of pointing out like racism in American law enforcement. So yeah, that did call for more serious. Where here, like, I don't know. I mean, so far they're not. I guess maybe they will, but so far I don't really get the sense that the fact that Simon is a black man doesn't make difference. Because I don't know. Because I mean, at this, I appreciate, it's like, okay, they're afraid of the powerful black man, but at the same time, he's also like damaging his own apartment when he loses control. So, where with Ms. Marvel, it was like, why are you after her? What has she done to anyone? But it's just like, well, she's got superpowers. So it's like, there it was really, really clear. They're chasing after this teenager who has superpowers, yes, but like, okay, the very, very start, it did look like, oh, could be dangerous kind of thing, but here it actually seems like, yeah, I mean, something's going to have to happen. Simon is going to have to learn to control his powers, or maybe they're going to give him something to suppress them until he learns to control. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, you have the thing about like, okay, so option A, you could finish your sentence, which, later he does say, I would never text a run-on sentence, a sentence fragment, whatever. But yeah, or option two, right? Didn't expect you to fall that quick. I had a whole speech prepared. And the meeting and the thing of, yeah, the right there, you have the thing about like, well, we need a real audition. He'd see through a fake one, and you have the thing about like, I still think we could have just gone with Megan M3. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Is Megan 3 really not going to be called Mithrigan? I guess they already have the 3 in there, don't they? I'm torn on whether or not to watch those two movies. Let me know your opinion, because I don't know that I'm opposed to it. I mean, if I don't, my researcher sort of look it up right now, but if I recall correctly, that's what's her name again? Allison Williams from Get Out, right? I've been looking for something else to watch her in. She was amazing in that. But yeah, I don't know. They do, those two movies do sound like I could find certain aspects to really love about them. Anyway, but yeah, so Cleary says we could have gone with Megan 3.0. I still think we could have, and then Trevor's like, that's why you hired me. He could send you to prison, right? Like, you really want to insult the guy who is literally why you're a free man. But that's, yeah. It's so great to have Trevor back. And more like stuff, and having stuff with him where they don't feel like, they're constantly having to progress plot or having action scenes and stuff like that, like we've never gotten to hang out with Trevor before this one. Neither of the two movies he was in, and or the one shot for that matter, really really allowed for that. And here, like, it's just so fun. He's just so great. And yeah, it sounds, I watched a what's it called, red carpet thing, and it does sound like Sir Ben Kingsley is indeed really loving it, as his performance suggests. Like, he genuinely seems to be having a blast, and it is one of those things, like, I have to admit, I used to not realize this, but I've seen more and more evidence. Like, some of the actors known for the most serious stuff, they actually love just getting to make people laugh and be goofy. Patrick Stewart, Sir Ian McKellen. Oh, I guess, is Patrick Stewart also a Sir? Please just assume I'm sirring them. Not because I particularly respect royalty and their decisions, but I do really, I hold these actors in very high regard. But, you've also got Michael Fassbender and the other Xavier. What's his name again? Can't believe I can't remember. He was absolutely amazing in Split. Somehow I just cannot quite recall his name. But yeah, like, you watch the bloopers and, like, yeah, every so often you'll have one where someone's like forgetting their line or something. But the ones that they do, they're like purposefully, they're like ad-libbing stuff that they know is not going to make it into the final cut, and it's just amazing. Like, for real, if you haven't watched, let's see, I guess it's especially those two X-Men movies. What are they called again? One of them's Apocalypse, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. Like, they are having a blast. As is, Jennifer Lawrence, but that's not really surprising. We knew that. Yeah, that's been very clear since like Hunger Games, I think. She's always when she's not acting, she's I actually don't know if she still is. I remember there was like some people really hated that she was like that. I don't know. Seemed genuine to me, I guess, and I don't really like hating on people for just being who they are. Anyway, I think that just brings us to the... Yeah, I love that was one of my biggest laughs. The entire scene, but especially, so yeah, Simon texts, and the what's it called? The conversation, there's the thing about... Oh, I guess I skipped. Oh, right. I'll just real brief talk about. So yeah, Janelle Coles and Simon, and yeah. So Ruth did of course call Janelle because, like he said, I am calling because of Janelle. What do you think was gonna happen, buddy? Like, did you really not think that there was some chance that Janelle would indeed hear that you did? Like, he is lucky she doesn't, like, let's see, is it called firing when you're let him go as a client? I forget the exact terminology, but yeah. But she does want him to succeed, and yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, Trevor's like, well, I can't just text right away. I'm gonna look desperate. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, obviously, I'm gonna wait so that he doesn't think, And Cleary's just sitting there. I think enough time has passed. Just like, I think there's some chance that if he was still under the impression that Trevor was a terrorist and he was like tied up in front of Trevor and Trevor was threatening to torture him, I don't think Cleary would have been more upset by that than he is by this waiting. Like, it's so... and it is this thing of, like, I mean, you do want to make sure to convey, because it is like, it's really suspicious if not necessarily like texting back immediately, but if you're like spy undercover kind of thing, you do have to be careful not to seem over eager, because that's kind of a red flag. I'm not in the criminal business. You'd have to ask, I don't know, Donald Trump, I guess, but I'm pretty sure it's a good idea to try to play it cool. Just yeah. You don't want them realizing and asking you, are you watching The Wire? I guess this is a perfectly decent time to briefly recommend, if you haven't already watched it, the YouTuber Pillar of Garbage did a video on Wake Up Dead Man. Let's see, I think it was maybe called Wake Up Bread Man, or maybe that was just in the thumbnail, but yeah, really, really good. I'm here for him making videos about those movies, which I still have to get around to watching. There's so much. You don't even have to tell me. You don't have to hype me up. I gotta watch the Benoit Blanc movies, because there's like... it'd be... it's quicker if I just list the things that like have me reticent about watching them. And honestly, right now, basically the one reason I haven't already watched them, I'm pretty sure they're like Netflix, and I don't currently have Netflix, but I honestly probably at some point will do a month of Netflix. We'll do those 3 movies. Right. Oh yeah, there's come to think of it, there's a couple. I'm definitely thinking about how to handle the Netflix thing. I'm not going to just have a long time subscription to Netflix, but there's several movies on there that I do really want to watch. Anyway, yeah, and then he's like, no, just text him that you'll be right over, be there in 20. And he's like, no, I mean, I have to, but it's just, yeah. I Fantastic performance by the guy playing Cleary. Also, one of the things said in the red carpet, the premiere thing, I think it was Kingsley himself who said that he was a big believer in acting is not about winning the scene. If you do, nobody's having fun. But it is about collaboration. Your job is to make the other person look good. And he said that was something that he and Yahya Abdul Mateen II both really felt strongly about. And I really feel like it shows. Like, as soon as I heard him say that, I was like, that's so true. That's like, you see that in the first episode as well. Like, yeah, they are each other's biggest fan, and like, just, they really want this to work. And so far, in my opinion, it absolutely is. Like, they're so freaking good together. Right. The part where so yeah, the reason why they can't film at his apartment is he lost control of his powers. And it was this thing of, like, he's watching back some old self tapes, and she's on there. And that's, yeah, it's difficult. I know it was difficult for me, but you gotta let it go. You cannot just obsess over the person that you're not with anymore, and just, yeah. And it's a good device for having it, because, like, yeah, why would they remove that from the self-tape? Like, what's the big deal? It's not like it's gonna ruin his career or something. Like, hypothetically, if he had been, like, cheating on his partner on one of the self-tapes, they'd probably, not. But anyway, I think that does. Yeah, I really like the way they visualized the power. Like, we're in the MCU, we're used to, like, I would kind of have figured we'd see, like, a wave of energy or something, and we do somewhat see that. But again, Destin Daniel Cretton, he grounds it. Like, we see the physical things being affected by the power, instead of just, like, special effects display. And I'm not ruling out, maybe there's also a budget thing or something, but in my opinion, it was the exact right choice here. Also because, like, it's important, this is not supposed to be cool. It's a little bit like, oh, Simon, you have to get this under control. Like, he doesn't know, at least at this point in this show, that DODC are after him, but this is still, and he knows. It's not like he doesn't, that's why he tells Trevor they shouldn't be at his apartment, too much bad energy, which is a very good way to cover for, because, yeah, I mean, technically that is sort of what happened there. Bad energy. And yeah, the thing about, the yeah, Trevor gets the ring. And maybe there's like a outtake where he goes, "Where's the other 9?" But then yeah, and so he was hoping to get in there, and then, the conversation on the phone. How did you already screw this up? I am really appreciating the odd couple dynamic between Cleary and Trevor. It's very, very funny. And let's see. Honestly, it was kind of moving when Trevor was, like, talking about, I just wanted to cheer my mom up. She did so much for me. She said I was going to change the world for the better through my acting, and yeah. Which is something that we have not seen yet. Like, yeah. So I would not rule out them bringing it up, because I'm pretty sure, didn't they have something about that in Ten Rings? I believe the Ten Rings movie, he also mentioned, that it was his mother that got him, or was it in? No, yeah, I think it was at least that, possibly also the one shot. Yeah, so yeah, I appreciate the thing about, it's kind of sad that, self-tape is the norm now. And yeah, he goes to the studio that's that are, and those are apparently popping up. I would not rule it out. And yeah, um, he goes, he signs the thing, and it's like, did you read the waiver? I read all the off-screen lines. Oh, okay. And first she's like not focusing enough, and then she stopped partway through a line and is like, does that make sense? This At least Simon and not Garfunkel, but Trevor, they do not make the same mistake as Homer Simpson. They do realize this is costing money. Like, this is how, she said there's no hidden fees. This is how they get around that. This is how they still get a lot of money. Maybe not a bunch of her clients are like too polite to say, I don't think this is working, because like, yeah. And let's see. Yeah, and then they go to, that hotel. What did he say? He bought it with the money from that show. And, then loud music and, telling the guy to turn it down just makes him turn it louder. And I will say I thought that was going to culminate in Simon losing control and destroying the sound system or something. Probably good they went in a different direction, because that could have been very reminiscent of Catwoman and or Venom. I do really feel bad for Halle Berry. I do not think, like, she did what the director told her. She did not know that it would look so bad at the end of the day. Yeah. Anyway, I think but yeah, and they're like shouting. It's like, oh, he turned off. Okay, set up the camera. Oh no, he's turning it back on. And let's see. Yeah, and the thing about, I been out here for 8 years. I don't have any friends yet. He doesn't let people in, as his ex said as she was leaving. And part of it is, of course, the powers. So and I do really appreciate, like, I feel like it's been a little while since we last got, like, because it is, let's see, Sokovia. Oh wait, weren't those, they said on She-Hulk that those were removed, so I'm not entirely sure what DODC, maybe it's a different initiative that's bringing, yeah. Anyway, I think but yeah, and so he says, and I like that, Joe Pantoliano says, call me Joey Pants. Everyone does. But Trevor is still calling him Joe Pantoliano, And that was also, oh, Joe Pantoliano, I love him. Everyone does. That's one way of saying I don't. But yeah, it is genuinely cool. Like there was that, they also mentioned a different, what was it called? Turtle Diary? Turtle Doves? I forget. And apparently, that I haven't seen it. I gotta watch some more like old Ben Kingsley stuff, because he really, I've been a fan of his for like 30 years or something by now, but I do have to admit there's a bunch of his that I have not yet watched. But yeah, he was tremendously talented even decades ago, and it hasn't really waned. So that's, yeah. And apparently the thing about the hospital show, South Shore Hospital, that was not quite. There was some. You can read about it in IMDb trivia. Now, yeah, and I also get the sense that Joey Pants is having a lot of fun playing this kind of jerk version of himself. I haven't seen very much interview, really just like Matrix, but so I don't know if he's like how, what he's like out of character, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. seeing him like that. And I love the thing about, Baby's Day Out is garbage. That, even the baby couldn't make you funny. That is something I have indeed heard about that movie. I have not watched it, and no, I probably won't. Did appreciate the part of it. I have not watched that movie in like 20 years, but from what I recall, what Simon says about Midnight Cowboy. Wait, is that the right Midnight Run? Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, Midnight Cowboy, that was episode 1, wasn't is he's gonna have Midnight something? Anyway, but yeah, Midnight Run, from what I recall, absolutely agreed with what Simon says. Which is what John McClane does. And let's see. Yeah, I do think there is at least some truth to what Joey said about, like, we have to get you off that show. It just didn't work. He was already struggling with drugs back then, and that is, it can be very difficult for an addict to be confronted, a recovering addict to be confronted with how they were back when they were addicted. So, yeah, what's the other thing? But it is, as Simon points out, that was the most condescending thing I've ever heard. And let's see, right? I appreciated, the call with Janelle where he points out I'm even code switching, And let's see but yeah, I do really appreciate, like, here, another entire episode where it's not really like life or death, but it's the kind of thing that for an actor can feel like it is. So yeah, he's worried about this, this casting director, like, and yeah, the thing about, she didn't say she loved what you did. She said, you have promise. That's not the same thing. You are not getting cast in Wonder Man, at least based on that particular audition. But that brings us to the yeah, and after they leave, the one thing Joey Pants does is call his agent and say, why didn't you tell me about the Von Kovacs Wonder Man? That's genuinely funny. And yeah, all that stuff. It was genuinely, it made me laugh a lot. Him, auditions. I mean, I'm offer only, so I can't relate, but that must be so annoying for you. It's so condescending. Just like, yeah. Right. Also really love the thing about, Simon's like, I can't eat the steak without thinking about you in the Matrix, which, like, seriously, he's just, yeah. And I think that, so yeah, by the end, they do go back to Simon's place and they do a really, really great self-tape and they send it. And I do also really appreciate that thing about, like, yeah, maybe it's what's not being said. Maybe, that, yeah, we only get a little bit of information about the scene, the character and such, but I wouldn't rule out, yeah, the thing about, like, you can trust me kind of thing as implied there in dialogue. And that's crucial to be able to pick up on subtleties like that and play that so that it really comes across. I think that does, but yeah, and so he, leaves and he's, gonna order a pizza, and Trevor, there's that, just very, very briefly, we're sitting there thinking, no, Trevor, you're friends, don't betray him like that, but he does, and then uncovers the part with the significant damage. And again, like, the fact that we're seeing it and it hits different, because that was the first time we saw it. Like, we knew that he must have, because we saw the like, stuff outside was shaking, so, like, okay, inside must be a mess based on that. But yeah, seeing it after the fact, like, it's not cool, it's kind of intimidating, intense. It's like, this is what happens when, because, like, he wasn't in mortal danger, he was emotionally distraught, and that which it is unfortunate if that's what happens when he feels something intensely that he does not like to be feeling. That is yeah, I think the yeah, that does cover the entire episode. So yeah, as I am hoping to I'm probably gonna try to do the entire season, and I don't think we're getting more than one season. Trying to do it fairly quickly. Yeah, still not the biggest fan of them just dumping a bunch of episodes all at once. I preferred it back when there was a week between episodes, but yeah, I think that does cover everything. I'm gonna mentally fast forward through the episode. Yeah, I'm really loving this low stakes kind of thing. Like, okay, so it's his career. It's not nothing, but like it's an episode. Like it's like I don't know, 30 minutes or so of them trying to find a good place to self tape and the various complications along the way. Like I mean, there's some tension around DODC, but as mentioned earlier in this video, they're playing that somewhat more for laughs, right? And yes, I did indeed. You know, I thought I recognized his voice, and I think I'd also heard from some kind of marketing thing that DODC and Cleary specifically would be appearing here. Yeah, he's also someone I would be okay with him popping up every so often. Just yeah. I think that might just about cover. I feel like there's something I am missing saying. Let's see. So right, it was very funny when, so they've been talking for a while, but as soon as Trevor gets arrested, she's like, "I'm not with him." And let's see. So I think that might cover the right. And I liked when he said, "Acting is not a job, Joe Pantoliano. It's a calling." And yeah, the bonding between Trevor and Simon is also really working for me. The way that they do feel like friends. And, there was that line in the first episode, some of us in this city are actually trying to help each other. That was also funny, like calling Hollywood a small town, which I guess in the sense that everybody knows everything about everybody else. Okay, sure. But that's a genuinely fascinating way to describe freaking Hollywood. It's a small town. You're on first name basis with, you know, the Miller. It's oh, I don't mean, you know, the guy who operates the mill. I mean, something I can't remember his first name, but that guy with the holy crap. We're gonna move on because I do not remember at all. Suddenly I can't even remember. Oh crap! I'm thinking of Dennis Leary. That's not Miller. Wow, I need sleep. Anyway, the yeah, I think that might come. I appreciated that Trevor was using the Mandarin voice when recording his, when he was doing the other, you know, he was reading some of the dialogue so that the so that Simon could play off him. I almost said Trevor was doing lines. It's important to note it's the other kind of lines. He hasn't done that kind of line in 13 years now.